What a headshot! What a head!
How's it guys, this is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you guys through my updated draft for Game Week 1. So the weekly draft updates are coming at you guys once again, signaling the end of a content week. This week we covered the overpriced options. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that series. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would recommend doing so. We covered the underpriced options, we covered the overpriced options. In the upcoming week, I'll be going over the best options for each position. So by the end of next week, we'll be covering our kind of team selection, as that'll signify 1 week till the deadline, so it's time to get hyped. Now in this video, I'll be giving you guys my updated draft. I've gone back to the 5 in midfield, so the 3-4-3 was quite nice for the last draft, but as mentioned in the comments, a lot of people didn't agree with it. Now will you guys agree with this draft? I don't know, we have a few differentials in here, but I think the majority of you guys will probably like it. So if you guys have built a new draft, let me know in the comments down below what's your latest draft, or always like to see what you guys are currently rocking. But that being said, sit back, relax, and let's get straight into this. So as you guys can see on screen, as mentioned in the introduction, I've gone back to the 5 in midfield to the 3-5-2, kind of the popular formation of this upcoming FPL season. We've returned to it, and I think it should be quite useful. Now while you guys are here, bottom right hand side, if you want to become a member, support the channel, you guys will get access to kind of one-on-one conversations on my Discord server, where I can really review your drafts. But don't worry, there are still free channels over my Discord server for you guys to post your teams, and you guys can join using the link in the description. Also follow me on Twitter while you guys are at it, that would be much appreciated. But going back to the draft, and the money in the bank is going to be 0.0, so every little bit of money has been squeezed into this draft, and we even still have a pretty cheap bench. Now we are slowly getting to a more kind of complete bench as the days go by. You guys can see Areola at 4.0 million. Now I do have some sad news for you guys. Fabianski played in that Spurs friendly, and he actually looked pretty strong. So is Areola going to start this season? I don't think so. I think it's kind of another 4.0 that we might have had too much hope for. But there have been some transfer rumors of a potential Heaton move, so you could become a playable 4.0. Now I've actually gone for another 4.5 here. I want to give you guys some variation. I've ditched Botman as my 4.5 defender of choice. I've gone for Pau Torres after his new signing to Aston Villa. Now Aston Villa's fixtures aren't the best to start off with, but they do have kind of a nice rotation pair, and I'll mention that when I talk about the rest of my defense. Then Brantwaite comes in as my favorite 4.0. Haven't really seen too many 4.0s currently playable, so hopefully as the preseason does go on, more of them emerge. Now in terms of my 4.5 forward, I've actually gone for Surridge, but as you guys know, he's actually left the Premier League, or was rumoured to at least, and that's why he's my current 4.5. Not because he's not going to play, it's because he won't drop in price. Any player that departs the Premier League can't drop in price, and as most 4.5 forwards won't even play, I currently am on him. But as the preseason goes on, maybe there's a 4.5 that does feature, like for example an Archer from Aston Villa. But the bench is still pretty cheap, but not as cheap as it can be, as I've gone for a 4.5 defender. But now let's go on to the all-important starting 11, and my goalkeeper's actually changed. I know that I was going for Flecken, but at the current moment, I literally know what's going on with the Brentford goalkeeper situation, as Ray is still at the club. And when you guys do watch this video, maybe he has departed the club, I don't know. But I just want to have a situation where I have Flecken, and Ray stays at the club and then is the starter. So my goalkeeper of choice has changed to Steele. You guys will know as we've gone through these overpriced and underpriced options, Steele and Sanchez collectively had a very strong performance for a 4.5. So that's why he's the kind of my standout option if Red is at Brentford, and Brighton has a nice fixture to start the season with. Now yes, Steele might actually not be the number one keeper. They've actually just signed another goalkeeper in the transfer window, but I do kind of believe that he'll be the second string. But as with every kind of option, as preseason does go on, if Steele's going to start between the sticks, then I'll be more comfortable. But I'd recommend you guys go check those videos out if you haven't. Either video between the underpriced or the overpriced goalkeepers should be fine. But going into the defensive department, and the reason I've gone for a 4.5 defender and a playable one is because I've gone for a Man City defender in John Stones. Now between Stones, Diaz or Ake, I'm just going to see who kind of is playing most of preseason, but I do favour Stones because he's playing as an inverted midfielder. Now I'm not saying that he's going to get more attacking threat, he's not going to be getting assists every single game, just makes him more of a kind of nice option and more up the pitch. So yes, you guys have had an impact on me when I did that draft review stream. Basically every draft had John Stones, so I've actually gone for him as well. Now as mentioned with that 4.5 in the defensive department, I think you guys have to go for a playable bench option, because if John Stones does get benched, the pep roulette comes back to bite us. We at least need someone to get us some points. So I'm perfectly fine with Pau Torres coming off. As mentioned, Villa have some nice fixtures, but I do hope that Stones starts the majority of games, because that Man City starting fixture run is simply too hard to ignore. Now I don't really think Pep's going to rotate as much at the start of the season, but as the season does go on, I think that John Stones will become less of an FPL asset. So let's go from while we can. Great fixtures, great team, hopefully some more clean sheets and some goal threat. Now my second defender hasn't changed since my first draft. It's Gabriel at 5.0 million. The only debate there is, can I go for maybe a Ramsdale, another option? But when you kind of look at Steele versus Gabriel, I think I do prefer this combination. Basically plug in any kind of 4.5 defender and Gabriel at 5 mil is better than Ramsdale, I believe. And that's why I'm fine with going for him. Now I guess the only threat to Gabriel might be this new signing of Timber. I think he has played as a centre back for the majority of his career, but he can also play as a right back. Now he was signed for quite a bit of money, so I don't think Arteta is necessarily going to kind of bench him every game. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in that back four. But for the time being, I think that Gabriel is safe in the lineup, but I am monitoring the situation. The next up is going to be a Stupinan from Brighton at 5.0 million. Great asset to have. Yes, I have doubled up on that Brighton defense, but as mentioned, great fixtures on paper, so I'm fine with doing this. Now at his more expensive price tag at 5.0 offers that attacking threat, which I do think is worth it, as that makes it a little bit easier to double up on that defense. So I'm fine with going with the Stupinan at this price point, hasn't left many of my drafts, and is quite a template pick. So in terms of our back three, the big kind of elephant in the room, no Trent Alexander-Arnold. Yes, I've gone without Trent for this draft. I just wanted to see what I could do in the midfield departments with that money in the bank. But I think the back three is perfectly fine if John Stones starts the majority of games. Definitely happy to have him at that price point. But let me know in the comments down below, do you guys have Trent in your latest drafts? I'll be going over is he worth it or is he not in the future videos coming up this midweek. But as mentioned, the midfield department is going to be stacked because you have all that money from Trent, so let's get right into it. The first player, pretty temple here, it's going to be Marcus Rashford at 9.0 million. United are progressing on their preseason. Rashford just signed a new contract. Let's hope for a new season absolute banger. Always did prefer him over Bruno Fernandes, even though he is 0.5 more expensive, and he hasn't left many of my drafts. Now the only thing about United is their fixtures aren't that great at the start of the season. I've seen a lot of people kind of tripling up. Yes, I do agree, they are quite well priced, but there are better fixtures elsewhere. They continue this kind of template run. I'm going to be going over Bukayo Saka from Arsenal, 8.5 million at his price point. Like Rashford, you guys have to get him in. Probably the most underpriced option in the game. Now Arsenal have signed quite a few more attackers, so it's going to be interesting to see how that lineup does go, but I do feel like Saka should start the majority of games. They also have some nice fixtures like Man City, so no brainer here, pick Saka. Now next midfielder is going to offer some variation, some differential kind of flair. It's going to be Phil Foden, so I'm going back to him from my first draft. I just believe that with those Man City fixtures, like with John Stones, great fixtures on paper, you might as well take a little bit of a punt on another attacker. Now between Foden, with Mahrez leaving, we also have Gundo leaving, Kevin De Bruyne, when's he going to come back from injury? Surely Phil Foden gets a few games at the start of the season. But as with everyone, I'll watch him through preseason, but I just love him as an option, think he's so talented, just ridiculous at 7.5 million. Also added to that, has one of the best kind of points per 90 minutes out of the midfielders, but you guys know that if you watch the previous videos. Now here's where our draft kind of changes up quite a bit. I've actually gone for Martinelli at 8.0 million in my midfield department, and that obviously completes our triple up. So while I've gone for Martinelli, I just feel like he's a great asset. Don't exactly think there's going to be that much rotation for him at the start of the season, and I actually like the options it opens up in my forward department. So yes, we've actually changed up our draft, our Arsenal triple up. Instead of Jesus, gone for Martinelli in the midfield department, and you guys will see what I've done up front shortly. Now comment down below, what's your Arsenal triple up at the current moment? It's probably Gabriel, it's probably Saka, but is it Jesus, Martinelli or Odegaard as your third? As with all other Arsenal options, great fixtures on paper, I believe that he is worth that price tag, as you would have seen in the underpriced midfielders. Then the final option, I mentioned the United fixtures aren't that great, but the price points for Bruno Fernandes are simply outstanding, and that's why I've gone from at 8.5. So I might not expect the world at the start of the season, but I want him for probably the long term. Just feel like he's great value at 8.5. Now the big thing and the big question mark about United is with the incorporation of Mason Mount, these new signings, how are United going to set up in the midfield department? Now I generally hope that Bruno doesn't drop too far back, hope that he still is quite up front, maybe playing as a 10, and still has that creativity in attack. But yet another thing to note in preseason as we kind of watch the United friendlies, fingers crossed that Bruno is still up front. But as you guys can see, the midfield department is absolutely stacked if you guys choose to go without Trent. We'll probably have Mbumo or Solly March / Matoma instead of two of these assets, which just shows you what you guys can do. So comment down below what your midfield department is currently looking like. Don't worry though, if you already posted your draft, I'll check it out anyways. And do you guys actually prefer Jesus up front, or like myself, are you on Martinelli at the current moment? Now finally going to our forward department, and the first option, don't have to kind of talk about him at all, it's Erling Haaland at 14.0 million. Yes, he might be overpriced, but when you guys consider Kamsi, definitely underpriced, and he's almost locked into my Game Week 1 team. Put the Kamsi armband on him already because he's going to be nailed, and probably another goal scoring record. But the all important question, who's my final forward? I've actually gone for a little bit of a differential, a new signing in the Prem. It's Nkunku from Chelsea. So yes, 7.5 million for a new option. Is this going to be Timo Werner version 2? I don't believe so. I've watched Nkunku a lot of games for Leipzig. He's just a quality player. Now, do I believe that Chelsea are going to suddenly miraculously recover from that kind of worst season in a long time? Maybe, but under Pochettino, I believe they'll be quite attacking. So that hopefully means more chances for Nkunku up front. Let's just see what position he's going to hold. I really hope that it's going to be centre forward. So this is quite a competitive price bracket because, as mentioned, I had Jesus, I've downgraded to Nkunku, could go for Darwin, Gakpo if I wanted to, but I currently favour the Chelsea man. So yes, a little bit of a punt here. This draft is definitely kind of more punty, gone for John Stones, Foden and Nkunku, but I think these punts could pay off at the start of the season. Let me know in the comments down below, do you guys prefer this draft to the last one? Do you prefer this to the first draft I made, which I do believe might have been my best one? But you guys can post your best drafts in the comments down below. I'll check if there are any red flags, and I'll reply to every comment as well. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on my Discord server or in the content coming up this midweek. Absolute banger videos are about to drop, so make sure those bell notifications are turned on. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. See you guys for the future content this preseason and on my Twitter page. But I'm signing off. This has been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.